This is the best time of the year. Come on, man. I know y'all feel the vibe. Summer's almost over. The weather's getting a little chilly.
That's not helping me.
But listen, the vibes are there because college football is back. Welcome to the HBCU College Football Kickoff presented by Allstate. I'm Skubie Mageza here with Christine Williamson, and we're getting ready for one of the most interesting college football seasons we've seen in a long time. So we're getting you guys right for the Cricket MEAC Swag Challenge, which, by the way, is being played on ABC for the first time.
Yeah, we love that for it.
This will be a matchup with South Carolina State going against Jackson State at 7:30 p.m. So make sure you lock in for that. But one thing's for certain, two things for sure. We got to talk about an NFL Hall of Famer.
Yeah.
If you know, you know. I'm talking about primetime Deion Sanders. His former team steps on the field tonight without him for the first time since 2019. Sanders left JSU to take the head coaching job at Colorado, and it was hands down one of the most high-profile coaching tenures in HBCU history. His run with the Tigers was an unforgettable one, Christine. So let's take a look back. What happened in 2020?
Yeah, let's take a look back. The Tigers went 4-3 in Sanders' first season as coach. The games were played in the spring that season due to cancellations and restrictions as a result of the COVID-19 pandemic.
And then in 2021, it was a season for the ages. Deion Sanders and Travis Hunt led the Tigers to an undefeated 12-0 regular season. But there's one game that they couldn't win, and that's a Celebration Bowl. They fell 41-34 to North Carolina Central in an overtime thriller. Coach Prime would leave Jackson State to head over to Colorado.
Yep, and then we go to 2022. That's last year. It was a season for the ages. Deion Sanders and Travis Hunter led the Tigers to an undefeated 12-0 regular season, but there's one game that Sanders could not win, and that was the Celebration Bowl. They fell 41-34 to North Carolina Central in an OT thriller. Coach Prime would leave Jackson State to take over as the head coach at Colorado after the season. We all know how that went down.
And he would take several players with him that he called his Louis luggage. Players like his son, QB Deion Sanders, safety Shiloh Sanders, and two-way wide receiver / DB Travis Hunter. And the prime effect is already being felt as the Buffaloes are preparing for their final season in the Pac-12 before rejoining the Big 12 in 2024. So, Christine, let's talk about how Jackson State moves on in the after the Coach Prime era. You were there with game day when you ended up going to Jackson State. What is the effect of having a coach like Deion Sanders for a school like JSU?
Yeah, I mean, I think you said it, right? We were there for game day. The fact that we were at Jackson State for game day is a huge deal. Obviously, being at an HBCU, it was huge. But Coach Prime, we're going to talk to James Houston later in the show about why he decided to play for Coach Prime. But I think the fact, obviously, Coach Prime hadn't had a head coaching position before, right? So he wasn't going to get a head coaching position at a Division I school unless he proved himself at Jackson State. And we saw how many people showed out for games. Obviously, they had a lot of issues, but they also were able to win games in a way that they weren't able to do before. And that is because of Coach Prime. He not only rose JSU's profile, but also just brought a lot of attention to HBCUs in general, which I think was huge for HBCUs and for football.
Yeah, most definitely. And I know he got a lot of heat from people saying that he was a sellout because when Coach Prime first got hired at JSU, he said it was God's calling for him to be there. But I'm going to take y'all to church real quick. When God calls you to do one thing, he can call you to do another. And now God has called him to be the head coach at Colorado. Now, let's not forget the things that he has done for HBCU. He donated half of his salary so that the facilities at Jackson State could be upgraded. And he's done other things like bringing College Game Day over there. So when you think about his departure, it's neither good or bad because the work was done. And quite frankly, I wasn't watching HBCU football much until Coach Prime got there. And I'm black. So let's just put that into perspective real quick for what he's been able to do. Now, as we mentioned earlier, gone from last year's 12-1 Tiger squad are the key players we mentioned earlier, along with other names like leading rushers Wilkerson, second leading receiver Kevin Coleman, and even place kicker Alejandro Mato. So now we welcome in Harry Lyles Jr., who is in Atlanta for the game.
What's going on, family?
There he is.
Harry Lyles.
I wish I was kind of in the studio there with you guys because
you might be able to
tell.
Uh-huh,
I was going to say the heat, Christine. You know I don't do well with this heat. So, you know, how cool is it in there? What, 72, 68?
It's actually kind of toasty in here, I'm not going to lie. And
I don't want to hear that.
I know that you had a jacket on. You got to take it off. That's how hot it is for
yeah.
Harry. I apologize.
93.
Yeah.
Hey, Harry, you got your boots on the ground over there. Jackson State is on the field. T.C. Taylor was a part of this coaching staff, and now he is the head coach. What is Jackson State's mindset heading into the post-Deion era?
They want to show everybody tonight that Jackson State football has always existed, right? Like, it did not just show up when Coach Prime showed up. HBCU football was a party before Deion Sanders showed up, and he might have brought some people to the party, but some of those people are going to stay. He might have been gone, but this party is still going on. And T.C. Taylor, I could tell you this, for all of the times that he has had to talk about this game and replacing Coach Prime and all those things like that, at no point has he ever been like, hey, can you guys not ask me about Coach Prime, this, that, and the third, because he is that confident in what he is bringing to the table for Jackson State, and he plans on keeping moving this thing forward. And he says he's ready to seize the moment here tonight.
I love how loud it is in there because obviously the bands are a huge part of this game as well. I do want to talk about, you talked about obviously JSU going post Coach Prime. Let's talk a little bit about South Carolina State because Buddy Pugh is going to be retiring. So now when you look at both of these teams, where can they find stability?
I think for a lot of teams it starts in the trenches, but specifically with South Carolina State, they're going to make their bread and butter on both lines. Offensively, they have 3 returning starters. On their defensive line, Jablonski Green is going to be a player that you need to look out for. That man is a tank. In fact, when we were out here at practice the other day, we were out here when the sun was at its peak, right, 2 o'clock, and he was like, hey, man, this heat, we're good. It's the hottest place on earth is Orangeburg, South Carolina. So that team is feeling confident, and they're coming to this one, and they feel like they have a lot to prove because they did not finish last season the way that they felt they could have.
Okay, so let's take a look at the Good Hands players presented by Allstate. Harry, who should people have their eye on for this game?
Well, for South Carolina State, for starters, I know I just mentioned Jablonski Green, but quarterback Corey Fields, he's going into his 6th or 7th year. Got a chance to talk to him yesterday. He wants to be an athletic director when he's done playing college football. He's got a great head on his shoulders. When we spoke to the coaching staff at South Carolina State, they said it's like having an adult basically back there at quarterback. And they've got a new offensive coordinator, they've got a new offense, but they say he's got a really good grasp on it. And they said the key tonight is going to have him keep everybody in the loop basically because he's got it a little bit better than everybody else. And then on the Jackson State side, conversely, that defensive line is nothing to play with. Jeremiah Williams, Devontae Davis, those 2 guys are the biggest guys on the field, and they also might be the most athletic somehow. Devontae Davis was telling us about how he played basketball, football, and baseball in high school. So there's no lack of talent on either side of this game, and I think you're going to see a lot of passion because, again, we've got 2 teams that feel like they have a lot to prove, even the players that I just mentioned.
Wow. Yeah, Harry, I know it's hot out there. I see the sweat coming down your forehead right now. So,
yeah,
brother, keep a towel in your pocket.
I got it now. Come on now.
It's going to be great.
Got to.
Enjoy the game, and we appreciate you for joining us.
Appreciate you guys. Have fun.
Bye, Harry.
See ya.
Let's continue our Allstate Good Hands players discussion. The Deacon Jones Trophy is awarded annually to the top HBCU player in the nation on offense or defense. Last year, it was Deion Sanders from Jackson State University. Sanders threw for 3,700 yards and 40 touchdowns last season while leading JSU to an undefeated 12-0 regular season. If you're taking a look at the top contenders for the trophy this season, you've got to start with Davius Richard. The North Carolina Central standout QB was 10th in the nation in 2022 with 2,600 yards, 25 passing touchdowns, and 15 more on the ground. He was HBCU last year, the Offensive Player of the Year for the MEAC, and is also the 2023 MEAC Offensive Player of the Year.
All right, we've got another guy that you need to keep your eye on, Khalil Baker. That's Davius's teammate at North Carolina Central. He's also one to watch. He led an Eagles defense that was 2nd in the MEAC in scoring and total defense, much like his teammate. He's also the reigning MEAC Defensive Player of the Year and the preseason Defensive Player of the Year.
And then we got Jeremy Musa, former Vanderbilt and current Florida A&M quarterback. Jeremy Musa led the Rattlers to a 9-2 record last season, throwing for 2,700 yards, 21 touchdowns, and a 57% completion rate. The SWAC head coaches and SIDs voted Musa their preseason Offensive Player of the Year.
And another player with big expectation is Alcorn State running back Jarvion Howard, the former Syracuse back, rushed for 1,200 yards and 12 touchdowns last season, including a career high 299 yards against Arkansas Pine Bluff. He's one of 2 HBCU players named to the Walter Payton Award watch list, given to the most outstanding FCS football player.
And wrapping up our list of good hands players, we have the SWAC's preseason Defensive Player of the Year, Sundiata Anderson from Grambling. In 10 games last season, Anderson was a menace for Grambling. 56 total tackles, 15.5 of them for a loss, and 8 sacks for good measure. Speaking of players that were a defensive menace, we now welcome in James Houston, a dude that's just doing his thing in the NFL with the Detroit Lions. James played for Jackson State in 2021, where he had 16.5 sacks, 24.5 tackles for loss, and 7 forced fumbles. James, much appreciated for you joining the show. And you transferred to Jackson State from Florida to play with Coach Prime. What did the HBCU experience mean to you?
The HBCU experience meant everything to me. My whole family comes from a background of HBCUs, coming from my grandfather to my aunties, my uncles, my father, my sister. Everyone has been to HBCU. So getting that experience was tremendous for me. Being able to play for Coach Sanders was just a wonderful experience for me. Switching my position and doing all of this, really just kind of making my team and really developing what I'm doing in my career in football at a HBCU. So my experience at Jackson State was everything to me. It was exactly what it made me into a player today.
So Skubie talked about how you transferred from Florida, obviously, to go play for Coach Prime. How did Coach Prime prepare you for the next level now that you're in the NFL?
Yeah, so Coach Prime was relentless in trying to prepare me for the next level. He knew exactly what I wanted when I decided to come there. And he made sure to display my talents as best that he could. And he did exactly that by changing my position and allowing me to just get after the quarterback every play. And just showing my athletic ability, showing my just natural instinct of getting to the football. And so he brought in a whole bunch of guys, that used to play in the NFL to come talk to me about, how life is in the NFL and how, things may go in the business world as well as in the athletic world. And so it was just a tremendous experience. Like I said, having Coach Prime there, just getting me ready for the next level and, preparing me for something that, he went through in his career.
James, you had a really impressive second half of the season in the NFL. 8 sacks in 7 games for you. You're one of several HBCU players to have success in the NFL. And last year, only one player was drafted into the league, Isaiah Bolden. He's with the Patriots. So with that being said, what do you think the NFL can do to get more HBCU players in the league?
Yeah, like you see on that graphic there, man, we got a lot of good players, man. And this is just in the last 5 years. There's so many more players in the NFL right now that are really doing their things from HBCUs. And I feel like it's just really just lack of awareness and just, I don't know. I'm not really sure what the NFL teams are doing, but there's so much talent there in some of these HBCUs. It's really just detrimental to the game. You have so many great players that can come up and really make an impact for their organizations. And so I'm just hoping that, the NFL, continues to take that next step in looking and being aware of some of these players that are coming out of the HBCUs and as well as a lot of the smaller schools. And there's a lot of good players in there.
Yeah, for sure. I want to talk a little bit about you moving forward in your NFL career, because you've had 2.5 sacks already in the preseason, 1.5 last night against the Panthers. A lot of hype around the Lions this season, the hype train. So what are your goals? What are you expecting for your team this season?
Yeah, a lot of the media, this year has put a lot of expectations on our team already. We didn't go to the playoffs last year. That was something that we all wanted, especially me coming in towards the later, portion of the league of the season. It was something we was all striving for, and we all, came short of eventually. But I think we just have goals of just exceeding that, and just understanding that the team we have, the talent that we have, and everybody, the organization, they brought in a lot of different talent that can really help us elevate our game. And so I feel like this is a great year for us to really just go out there and just, you know, play the best that we can because, you know, that's all you can really do in life. But, you know, Dan Campbell and a lot of those guys, all our coaching staff, they're going to get us hyped up and they're going to get us ready for every single game. And so I'm just really excited for this year. I feel like it's going to be a story. And I can't wait to play and just see how it is.
I want to ask you a question about your coach specifically because when Dan Campbell became the head coach for the Lions, he had a really great soundbite that actually put fear in a lot of people, I feel like. So what is it like playing for Coach Campbell?
Yeah, so he's everything of that quote. He is definitely willing to take your kneecaps out and 3 fingers and 2 toes or whatever he said. That's just coach he is. That's kind of the player that he was, and it's a great you know, ego, a great person to walk behind, and it's a great leader to have on your team. Because literally we'll do anything for him because we know he has our back and he knows we got his, and so it's just been a tremendous career of mine to play for so many past players, you know, past NFL players. I feel like it's just extraordinary opportunity for me.
I do want to compare the 2 head coaches because when we saw Coach Deion go to Colorado, he had a lot of choice words for the players that were there. So I feel like they kind of have similar personalities, kind of a no BS type situation. So how would you compare Coach Campbell to Coach Sanders?
Yeah, a lot of people ask me this question, and I feel like the coaches, like on the outside, I feel like obviously there's so many, like you could visually see so many differences, but I feel like they are honestly almost the same coach, like great motivators, just willing to motivate their player at any time, at any moment, every day, and not letting up on them and just trying to get the best out of them every day. And I feel like they're both the same in that way. I feel like Coach Prime has a little bit more of a relaxed tone to it, a little bit more of a, you know, culture tone to it. But, you know, Coach Campbell he's the same way. He's going to get you motivated. It may be in his own little quirky way, but it works just the same. It makes you more hyped up because you're like, man, this dude is ready to go play right now. You know, so he, you know, we do. So we got to, you know, take advantage of that.
Man.
But I think they are like really much 2 of the same coin. So.
Those are the coaches that you really want to play for, man. Really appreciate you joining the show. We're going to be watching for you this year, so continue to ball out, and I appreciate you, James. You have a good rest of the day.
Thank y'all so much,
Thanks.
man. Appreciate you.
Rivalries are the heart of college football, and HBCU football long-standing traditional rivalry games are known as classics. We've got a lot of classics on tap for 2023, so if you're thinking, which ones do I watch? Don't even trip, we got you. Here's some of our favorites, starting with the Orange Blossom Classic. You can watch it on September 3rd on ESPN. It'll be held at Hard Rock Stadium in Miami for a Jackson State versus Florida A&M matchup. Historically, the winner of this classic was declared HBCU national champion back in the 50s.
Let's go over to the Magic City Classic, shall we? The annual in-state rivalry between Alabama State and Alabama A&M goes back to 1940. This is the largest HBCU game in the country every season. Last year's 24-17 Alabama State win was in front of 67,000 fans. This season's game is October 28th on ESPN+.
And then we got the Bayou Classic, the battle for Louisiana HBCU bragging rights. Each Thanksgiving weekend, Grambling State and Southern face off at the Superdome in New Orleans. This is another classic battle of the Bands between, once again, Southern's Human Jukebox and the world-famed Tiger Marching Band of Grambling.
Yeah, let's go to the Aggie Eagle Classic, the century-old rivalry between North Carolina Central and North Carolina A&T. Only 55 miles between the 2 schools. So the Eagles from Carolina Central packed up their first win in the series in 2016 last year, their first ever, by the way. September 9th, they're looking to make it back-to-back wins.
Ooh, okay, then. How about the Boombox Classic? Another historic rivalry for Jackson State. This one is more for a battle of the bands between Jackson State's Sonic Boom of the South and the Human Jukebox of Southern University. Can see this one September 9th on ESPN+. Christine, you saw and heard bands go head-to-head last season when you were there for game day. What was that like?
It was life-changing. It was really life-changing. I was so excited for this specifically, and I don't think we knew that we were actually going to go to it when I went into that day. Like, I didn't know that that was going to be a thing that we were doing later, but we were told that they could get us in, and I was like, wait. I cannot, like, literally, when I tell you I recorded the whole entire thing, I should have been paying more attention. I was paying a lot of attention, but I should have been paying more. But we were also dancing, and we were right on the field, so it was great. We got, like, a great seat. I'm a little nervous because our producer just told us that we have a surprise at the end of this, and oh my gosh, wait.
What is this? What is this?
Can
you explain yourself here?
This is the best part of the entire night because our producer, Chris Cologne, that's his car, his rental car. For some reason, okay, so there was a car that was parked ahead of him. Now, luckily, I was not in this car. I went in another car with, like, the people that actually know how to drive. And he decided that he was going to go up where he saw another car, but there was, like, a huge ditch, and he got his car stuck there, and he had to leave his car there for the entire, like, he just left it. We left.
I
don't know what happened.
What happened to the car?
No idea. He
Till
left
this day, we don't know where the car might be there still.
So we were just told the rental car company eventually found it, but I know that if it was national, it takes a minute for them to actually find it, so that's probably what happened, but all I know is it was bad. It was bad.
That looks like a classic, not my car, not my problem.
The back wheels were literally raised. It was so bad. Okay, so there's obviously lots of good games and moments to share this season, but we also got a good game tonight, as you guys know. Tiffany Greene and Jay Walker have a preview. Take a listen.
Atlanta never wore those words so well as we kick off the 2023 college football season. And in the HBCU landscape, there is some big news. Buddy Pugh announcing his retirement at the end of this season. Jay Walker, Tiffany Greene here with you. And this farewell tour for Buddy Pugh in his 22nd and final season at his alma mater.
Yeah, I mean, you're almost speechless. You know, you have to understand something. If you're a player for South Carolina State University, you have to send your coach out with the winning record. He's one of the legendary coaches there. He not only fulfilled the shoes of a college football Hall of Famer, Willie Jeffries, who preceded him, but he expanded that shoe size. Buddy Pugh has seen everything you can on the HBCU landscape, and this being his final season is a fitting way for his team to get a victory, to get him started in style.
Program's all-time winningest coach. Now, you think back to a couple of years ago in that Cricket Celebration Bowl, and we saw Jackson State face off against those Bulldogs, and I'll tell you, it was all heavily favored for the MEAC at the end of the day.
Absolutely. I mean, Coach Prime and the Tigers came in with all the attention given to them, ranked in the top 25 nationally, undefeated regular season and SWAC conference play. But the boys from Orangeburg, South Carolina, didn't want to hear anything about that. One of the biggest upsets in Celebration Bowl history, and the Bulldogs did it in dominating fashion.
And now you think about the upcoming season throughout the HBCU landscape. And Jay, what should the fans look forward to?
Look for a physical line of defense from South Carolina State. But the question is, the primetime era is over at Jackson State. What would first-year head coach T.C. Taylor bring to the ballpark, and who's going to knock Jackson State off the top of the SWAC? And for the Bulldogs, will they have enough bite this upcoming season to make it back to the Cricket Celebration Bowl?
Well, we're talking about those two common opponents for North Carolina Central, the defending Black college football national champions. What do they have to say at the end of this year?
Hey, they have to say beat the best player in all of HBCU football and quarterback Davius Richard, Player of the Year a season ago. He's back for his senior season, preparing for the upcoming NFL draft.
All right, you're looking live at players from South Carolina State getting ready for the game. Coming up at 7:30 on ABC and on the ESPN app. Just log in with your cable provider to authenticate, and you can watch it literally right here. Okay, friends, we are now very happy to be joined by Mia Berry, who covers HBCU football for Andscape. Mia, I want to start on the Jackson State side because obviously this is the first season post-Deion Sanders, right? They had 3 losses in the last 2 seasons. So what challenges do you feel like they're facing as they go forward?
Well, in totality, new everything, new offense, new defense, new special teams. That's one thing that Jackson State really dominated the last 2 seasons. They had the best quarterback in the SWAC. They had the best defense. This year, they're trying to put everything together. They have a lot of new talent. They recruited Jason Brown out of Virginia Tech, who's supposedly their starter right now. New quarterback, new rhythm with receivers, new defense. So it's really team chemistry at this point and how fast they can put it together. And this season's schedule does not give them any leeway. They start off pretty tough, starting off with South Carolina State, a MEAC stronghold and staple. Next week, Florida A&M, then Southern, their rematch from the SWAC championship last season, and Texas State. And to make matters worse, they're all on the road. They don't have their first home game until September 23rd. So it's how quickly can this team gel and how few mistakes they can make at a point in the season where losing to Florida State, Florida A&M, or losing to Southern can really tank their hopes for a third consecutive SWAC championship.
Mia, Jackson State has won the SWAC in back-to-back years, but this season, it's wide open. So, who do you see as the top contenders coming out on top?
Top contenders, I'm going to go Florida A&M.
Okay.
Their only loss in the SWAC the last 2 seasons have come to none other than Jackson State. I've been around Willie Simmons this season. You know, his players are feeling it. They're confident. Jeremy Musa, preseason SWAC Player of the Year. They feel like this is their year, and you can't ignore Eric Dooley and Southern Jaguars. Southern's also on the hunt this season. Last 2 years, runner-ups to Jackson in the SWAC championship. They too have their sights set on the SWAC title. So my sleeper team will actually be Grambling State as well. You have a lot of teams that personally told me they feel the SWAC is wide open this season, and they have every reason to believe so.
Okay, let's go to the South Carolina State side of things. They were just 3-8 last season. Obviously, head coach Buddy Pugh announced his retirement. How are they approaching this season?
Corey Field, starting quarterback for that Celebration Bowl championship in 2021, he told me this is their revenge tour. He said he's lining the teams up. Every team that got the best of them last season, they're ready. Buddy Pugh's retirement only adds fuel to that fire. You have a lot of strong seniors on this team that tasted victory, they tasted defeat. They know both. They don't want to taste defeat anymore. So they're ready this season. The ante's up for South Carolina State.
Okay, the SWAC got the headlines with Jackson State right now, but let's talk MEAC because North Carolina Central is the reigning Celebration Bowl champion and the current favorites. So, who can challenge them this season?
Simple. South Carolina State, the team that has had their number the last 2 consecutive seasons. In 2021, North Carolina Central only lost that season, South Carolina State. That determined who went to the Celebration Bowl. Last season, North Carolina Central's only MEAC loss, South Carolina State. They just had a little bit of help from other MEAC teams, but South Carolina State has pretty much had Central's number so the last 2 seasons. So I believe they pose the biggest threat to the reigning champs.
All right, Mia, I know it's 95 degrees outside. You're nice and toasty. You're in the press box. It's going to be a great game tonight. Enjoy, and thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you guys so much for having me. I appreciate you.
We're counting you down to the matchup between Jackson State and South Carolina State. Once again, as mentioned at the top of the show, it is nationally televised on ABC for the first time ever. Christine, what do you think that says about the growth of black college football for you?
I mean, I feel like we've been talking about it for a while now, especially this network, talking about how important it is to bring attention to HBCUs. So I feel like people are starting to catch on. And then as we talked to James Houston earlier about how many good players come out of HBCUs and how we really need to, Isaiah Bolden being the only one that was drafted this last year, we really need to make sure that we're bringing more attention to these players and these schools because there's obviously a lot of really good athletes in all these schools. So I think the fact that it's on ABC tonight is going to be huge. Yeah,
and I know that's something that the presidents of these schools want to be able to do, get these games nationally televised, get their names out there, and it's great for the game. And the whole college football game as a whole kicks off next week. It's week 1. How excited are we that it's finally here?
I feel like it snuck up on me. Like, I don't know how it got here so soon. Obviously, you know, game day started today. They were in studio, but going to be back on the road next week. Going to Charlotte, North Carolina, and just the fact that we get to feel I feel like college football is one of the most exciting sports that we cover here at ESPN. So the fact that we get to feel the intensity of the college football season very soon is going to be huge, but it did really sneak up on me.
Yeah, you can catch myself and Christine on all the ESPN digital platforms. Countdown to Game Day is what Christine will be on. I will be on the College Football Show and the wrap-up. You can catch it all on YouTube, Twitter, all those things. Thanks for watching the HBCU College Football Kickoff presented by Allstate. Enjoy the Cricket Miak Swag Challenge tonight. Appreciate y'all for watching. Peace.